Welcome today. It's Jason O'Keefe for the Real Home Expert team at Davenport Realty. And today I brought in Stephen Green from the RBC, mortgage specialist. Stephen, if you don't mind, tell us how you became a mortgage specialist.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jason. You know what? It's funny how it all started. 23 years ago, been in banking now.
Yep.
And I remember my dad used to tell me, if you want a job, be persistent. And I used to ride my bike when I was 18 up to the local Canada Trust in Scarborough, Ontario, born and raised. And finally, after 3 months of dropping off my resume, being persistent, they gave in and gave me a job.
Nice.
And 23 years later, here I am. I was Bank of Montreal for 12, 13 years after my stop at Canada Trust. And when I wanted to get into mortgages and sales and that sort of thing, RBC was the right spot for me. So yeah, I've been doing it ever since and been having a blast doing it.
So again, and you've been in this for 23 years. You've definitely seen a lot of changes over the years in banking, interest rates, different things going on. And of course, now in 2020, we're dealing with COVID, right? So How has that affected, let's say, the last 6 months or 9 months to the marketplace for you?
It's been a tricky ride. And I tell clients this all the time. If COVID has taught us anything, it's expect the unexpected. And I think what we find now, I think every lender asks more questions. And I don't think that's unreasonable. We are in uncertain times. And if one thing lenders are not, it's risky. So, lots of common sense questions. Haven't seen anything drastic from policy and rule changes, but just a lot more questions, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Rates combined with economy. I mean, if we look back to March as an example, and again, unprecedented times, 2-3 weeks of just prime rate dropping 3 times and fixed rates dropping and people pulling money from the markets. So, just things we never thought we would ever see. So I think, knock on wood, I think we got a wood table here. Knock on wood, I think things are starting to stabilize a little bit.
Oh, and you mean like, just because we've been in this now for at least 6 months, 7 months, we're getting a better understanding. We know COVID's going to keep going on for a little while, hopefully not too long for all of us. But that's what you're trying to say is the banks have kind of got an understanding of what it's going to look like for the next little while.
I think so. I think, people are, for the most part, people are still working. People I know in Southwestern Ontario, we're in this environment where it's a perfect storm of low rates, people are still working, and we have low inventory. So it's a bustling market that way. But yeah, to your point, I think the banks are starting to get a bit of a handle. What is yet to come, I think, is going to be a second wave and what second wave looks like. And I think we're going through it right now. Having said that, I'm hearing the term, COVID fatigue. And I think 100%. A lot of people are there with that. So that's what we're starting to see now.
So I know as a real estate agent, been doing this now for 15 years. I know a lot of buyers will tell us stuff like they've been pre-approved or they haven't been pre-approved, or the worst one I get is that they went online to one of these. They filled out the forms online and said, oh no, I can buy $1 million house, but they really haven't been approved if they've just gone online, right?
Right.
There's a lot more questions that need to be asked, right? So we, as an agent, I always tell people, that's great, you went online, but now I need to put you in touch with somebody like yourself, Stephen, who can, pull the information. Because I know as a mortgage agent, as a real estate agent, they don't give me all the information, but they can't lie to you. The numbers,
That's right.
The numbers and the forms are there, right? Like I've only had a few deals not closed in my 15 years, and one of them was the guy didn't pay his taxes. So, I mean, there's little things like that prop up now. Yes, he was approved, but he had that issue. So what are the other forms? If somebody's going to call you for pre-approval, what are some of the things they're going to need? Like, what are the basic stuff they need when they call you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And another thing COVID, I think, has taught us is advice and experience does count for something.
100%.
And we do have online systems and numbers you can play with, but I think having the right person to really give the advice around knowing what to go for, how to handle multiple offers, asking the right questions during the pre-approval stage, I think really has come to the forefront during this and understanding what's going on. So I think it's, when we talk about pre-approval, and I have a lot of education that I give to my clients so they understand what the process is. Pre-approval, it is as good as the paper it's written on. You can afford X number of dollars. And I think the truly good lenders, whether it's a mortgage, a car loan, or whatever, they do their due diligence beforehand. Let me see all of your documents. Let me pull your credit bureau. Let me make sure that while I can't guarantee your approval before you go into your offer, because you don't know what house you're buying, at least we've crossed off as many points as we can to make sure you can get into that offer, at least confidently knowing what you're getting into. So I think it's asking questions. When you're dealing with a lender, ask simple questions. How long have you been doing this for? Do you know the different programs? Do you know what documents I need? So at least I understand what I truly can and can't afford going forward.
Yeah, they should be interviewing, like they interview myself when we're looking for different, we tell people to always interview different agents, find out what they can do and what they can't do, what they specialize in, what they don't specialize in. And again, we're not talking about people that, some people that have been in the business for months are great, and some people have been in the long term are not as good. So it's the same thing I think with mortgage people is, ask them questions, interview that person, because they're the ones that have to go to bat. They're the ones that are going to help you find the money. And, one of the other things we're finding out is in our environment and how much it moves so fast right now is you need to have all your ducks in a row beforehand. That's why we talk about getting that pre-approval, getting, if a house isn't ready for, does your pre-approval need a home inspection? Are you still going to have a finance clause in there? We had an agent last night that actually won a deal with their finance clause in there, which is a rare thing nowadays. Now, did the clients probably have to pay a little bit more for those? Yes, but at least now they're protected to make sure everything's done.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you're finding for, let's say, first-time home buyers? Because the market in this area in Waterloo region and Wellington region and outskirts are, everything's moving fast. We have a lot of people coming from Toronto. They're pushing the prices up higher. What are some of the things you see that a first-time home buyer really needs to do, like with down payments, other stuff, right?
Yeah, I think I love working with first-time home buyers. They're so new. They don't know necessarily what they're doing yet. It's just a lot of fun. I deal with a lot of investors as well, and that's really, I do enjoy that as well. First-time home buyers kind of give that fresh new look to everything. You kind of check your own knowledge. I think what first-time home buyers have to really consider, and I think there's a lot of media out there. There's a lot of social media. My friend got this, my friend did that. I think what they really have to be focused on is making sure that everybody on their team, the realtor, the mortgage person, the lawyer. I mean, let's face it, lawyers have become very critical now these days,
100%.
Regardless of what they say. So making sure that everyone's on the same page and making sure that they're comfortable asking a lot of questions, because the reality of it is, to your point, it's so competitive.
Yes.
And I think when you're going in with that offer, and here's a really good experience comment, if you go in with a firm offer, you got to remember the bank still needs to approve the property. Bank still needs to approve the value. So I think having the realtor, having the mortgage person on the same page, and then you as a first-time home buyer asking a ton of questions, 100%. Making sure you know what your risk is, that's what you need to know as a first-time home buyer, is everybody on the same page. What are my risks? Because the reality of it is, if you do go in firm, you have risk. There's absolutely risk, right? Because you really don't know what you're buying. You don't know if the banks, the appraised value is the biggest thing. And first-time home buyers, I think, are surprised when I say, well, all lenders, not just the banks, all lenders will only mortgage to either the purchase price or the appraised value, whichever's less.
Yep.
So our first-time home buyers that are 5% down, 10% down, how many Canadians get their start who are going firm? We see a lot of them rolling the dice and hoping for the best. So I think as long as everyone's working on the same team, that's my biggest comment, I think, for first-time home buyers. Make sure everyone's on the same page within your team of professionals you're working with, so you know what you're getting into.
Well, and that's where I think having people that have experience have done it time and time again. Again, we're not talking, there's some great first-time people that have just gotten into the business. They'll work their butts off and they'll go to town, and usually what happens with a lot of first-time people is they will have If like on my team, if I got new agents, they have myself and Tammy Nolan, who was on one of these before, they can fall back on us. So just because they've been there for a year or two doesn't mean that they don't, because I know you've got other people you help in your industry that are just getting into it. So we're not saying that. You know, also I've noticed like every mortgage is different. Rates aren't all to be all.
Yes.
You see a lot of people with these low rates, but then if you move, now you're going to have a bigger cost. Like you need to look at the wording inside the mortgages. Would you agree with that? Like there's different things.
Yeah, I think you get what you pay for.
Well, people get focused on rate.
Yeah, and I think I tell people this: you will give what you pay for, you know. And then I'm not saying, you know, pay double the price for somebody because, you know, the service is amazing. What I'm saying is you have to read some of the fine print. We do have clients that have taken advantage of this incredible, too good to be true low rate, and then they find out a few years later the penalty to just move is $25,000 because you can't port the mortgage or whatever the case may be. And listen, every lending institution has fine print. I think that's where it comes down to understanding what your plan is going forward with the house.
100%.
So when we give advice on rates, variable, fixed, or this or that, whatever, it's what are you doing going forward, right? It's not. My brother is a first-time home buyer, just went through this himself. And so again, my eyes were open because I actually watched someone go through it. And a lot of times they don't know. And you have to look at that plan going forward. I know it's kind of cliche, but live in the moment for your financing, live for your next 2 or 3 years and get the right advice accordingly.
So there's also like other programs. I know in our region, there's also what we call the Waterloo Regional Home Plan, where the region will help them with their down payment.
Yep. Absolutely.
Can you just give a little explanation quickly on that?
Yeah, great program. And I should be clear, there's two marketed programs right now. The one that you're speaking of is just for properties purchased in Waterloo region. And then of course there's the other one that came out, I believe last year, that was offered by the federal government.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, so the federal government one it's a different beast altogether. It's taken a lot of scrutiny. It has not been very popular, a lot of different reasons for that. But what the one you're talking about in Waterloo region is it's the Waterloo Region Affordability Program, that's what it's called. And I've done a few clients, I put a few clients through this program. It's great because I think the reality of it is tougher to save. And it's not because you're a bad person or, you know, whatever the case may be, but it is tougher to save.
Cost of living zone.
Yeah, and incomes have not gone up at the same ratio, right? So
not at the housing market. No.
No, exactly. So as long as you have your closing costs, because you do need your closing costs, you can apply to the program within their parameters. There are some rules for sure. Can't make over a certain amount, can't buy over a certain amount, stuff like that. But at least you can get your down payment and get into the market.
100%.
Because I think, and again, I've just gone through this with my brother, where we had to have that conversation. He didn't buy his dream home. Absolutely not. But he's in the market now.
Well, and that's a big thing, right? With prices continually going up, and we're going to see continued growth within this area, especially with COVID and stuff. It's just gone even faster. Because we're seeing, you know, I was in a house the other day and I would say out of the 12 cards in front of me, there were 7 from Toronto.
Yeah.
And I was one of the 5, and my clients are from Toronto. So, you know, you're seeing 50%, 60% of people now moving up from the city because they want out. And they will drive up prices because what they have already is already very much more worth more. A townhouse in Toronto is going to get you over $1 million, where a townhouse here is going to get you 6. So, or 5 or 6. So if they pay an extra 50 grand, they don't care. They still got 400,000 in their pocket at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. And I think that's where the Waterloo Region program comes in as well, where we'll say the people that live here, right? Yes, it is what it is. The numbers speak for themselves. And, you know, without exception, the clients that I have gone through this program, they have, again, they're not getting into their dream home, right? They're getting into a home, though.
But they're getting a home.
Exactly.
It's starting a dream.
Exactly. And I think that allows them, if they get into something now and they just get into something they can live with for the next few years, they can now take advantage of the increase in house prices
100%.
Because that Waterloo Region program that money needs to be paid back if you sell or refi within 20 years.
Which is fine.
Exactly. So if your house goes up exponentially, which is what's happening, to pay back the, let's say, $20,000, and you don't have to give up a portion of your new value to the government, you just pay back the money. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I think that's I talked earlier about kind of that long play. What's your plan for the next few years? This is what it could be.
Yeah, we speak all the time with new home buyers, and everything is just get into the market. Like we've even had to tell some people to buy outside of the Waterloo region, buy up in Oxford County, buy up in Stratford, buy up, Listowel area, buy in these little towns, get into the market. Yes, I know it's not the best. You're going to have to do a little bit of commute, but that's actually how a lot of people in Toronto started. They worked downtown, and they bought houses in Brampton and Mississauga and stuff like that, Scarborough, and they commuted downtown for now. And then the city slowly pulled themselves out, but that's given them a start in the market. And that's what you're seeing. And we're in the same boat here in Waterloo region, Wellington region, stuff like that. It's, yes, our house prices are lower, but at least, and then as you get going, it keeps the cost down too. But the idea is get yourself in the market and get going. I hear these people that try and save I want to save 20%. By the time you save the 20%, that house price could have gone up 20%. And now you're not actually saved, and you're back to renting. And
really common conversation, right? 100%. And I think people, it's a tough balance because in one breath, the dream of owning your first home that you want to live in for 10, 15 years, that doesn't happen anymore.
Oh no.
Now, if your income supports it, by all means, go for it. But I think by and large, I believe statistically, CMHC came out with a survey, first-time home buyers move within the first 2 or 3 years of owning their first home anyway. So how do we plan for that? How do we prep for that going forward? That's just the way it is now.
Well, I mean, when I grew up, my dad was a Royal banker, same as you, and he got transferred every year. So I think
there you go.
I think I'm in 30 houses now in my 29 years. We'll leave it
there. You go.
So basically, yeah. I mean. Yeah, I can't even tell you what my first house looked like. I have no clue, right? And same with myself. I mean, I bought my first house at 25, 4 years ago, of course, at interest rates of 8%. And I thought that was a good deal, right? And then they kept coming down. So, get into the market. Just get into the market. That's what we keep saying. So anyway, Stephen, thank you very much. What's the best way somebody can get in touch with you?
Yeah. So how long do I get for my shameless plug here?
You get as long as you need, as long as it doesn't go past the minute.
Here comes the exciting part. So you can reach me at phone number 519-500-1789. If you Google me, Stephen Green Mortgage Specialist, you'll definitely find me there. And watch my podcast. I'm on a 2-month break right now because I'm trying to figure out what to do, and take a look for the Green Effect podcast as well.
Perfect. So, thanks again, Stephen.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jason.
All the best.